The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
Welcome back, everyone. New Fox News polling is out, and it puts Donald Trump in the top tier just behind former Florida Governor Jeb Bush in the Republican race for the White House. Jeb taking 15% of the Republican vote, Trump 11%. Dr. Ben Carson rounds out the top three at 10%. No other candidates reached double digits. Mr. Trump's also among the heavy hitters in New Hampshire, taking third place behind Bush and Rubio in a Suffolk University poll. We're bringing him back now, Donald Trump. All right, so Mr. Trump, a lot of people say, well, you're the new flavor of the week, so of course you would rise in the polls. And they also say, hey, he's just an opportunist. He's really not serious about running for president. It's just name recognition, and that's why he's doing so well. How do you respond?
Well, Gretchen, first of all, in the Suffolk poll, I'm number 2, not number 3, but that's okay. I mean, these are minor details, but I was actually number 2. But I think, look, people know we're not going to get ripped off anymore if I'm running things, because this country is in such trouble. Mexico, you look at what's happening. They're just killing us at the border. They're killing us at trade. No matter where you look, Japan, China, every country we do, Saudi Arabia makes $1 billion a day. We defend them. They give us nothing. It's just like, it just can't go on like this. We owe 19 trillion, very close to 19 trillion. When we get to 24 trillion, it's over. That's like the magic number. We're going to be a floating Greece. We're going to be Greece that's large. And, you know, it's a real problem. So I think that's one of the reasons I resonate with people, because they want to see our country be great again, and no politician is going to make this country great again.
You're 100% still serious about this, because you know that the detractors out there say he's just an opportunist, he's just trying to increase his brand. You say what?
Well, I haven't heard that lately. You know, they said I wasn't going to file. I filed. I ran. I announced. I did everything. So they're not really. Actually, you're the first one that said that in a long time. And now I'm doing very well in the polls because people say, oh, wow, he is really running. And I give up a lot. You know, when I do this, I give up a lot. As an example, Univision. I'm going to have to sue Univision now because I speak negatively about trade with Mexico. And I love Mexico. I love the Mexican people. I love them. They're great people. But Mexico is just taking our negotiators to lunch. Our president doesn't have a clue. They don't know what they're doing. And Mexico's making a fortune. And somebody has to bring it up. So Univision says you got to stop talking badly about Mexico. And again, I love Mexico. I love the people of Mexico.
So the breaking news
and I said, I'm not going to do that. But
the breaking news now is that Univision is dropping the Miss USA pageant based on some of your comments about Mexico. And, of course, you own the Miss USA pageant.
I own it. That's right.
But you said,
this is what
you said about Latinos, though.
They have a signed contract.
Okay, I'm going to get to that in a minute, but I want to know whether or not you would stick by these comments that you said about Latinos, saying, quote, they're bringing drugs, crime, they're rapists. Are you going to stick by those comments? Because Univision fired back saying...
No, of course, just so you understand.
Go ahead.
Greta, that's what's happening. Do you think they're sending their best people over here? And I'm not just talking Mexico. I'm talking about all over the world they're coming through the southern border. You're going to have them coming in from the Middle East. You have them coming all over. But you just speak to the border guards. Do you think they're sending their best and their finest over here? It's not just Mexico. Everybody's pouring through the border. And I'm angry at Mexico because Mexico allows it to happen.
Okay.
But, of course, they're criminals in many cases.
Well, okay.
Why would I change that statement?
All right, so
by the way, all you have to do is speak to the border guards and they'll tell you what's happening.
All right, here's what Univision has said now.
Of course I'm staying by the statement. Everybody knows
we
it's true.
see firsthand the work ethic, love for family, strong religious values, and the important role Mexican immigrants and Mexican Americans have had and will continue to have in building the future of our country. We will not be airing the Miss USA pageant on July 12th or working on any other projects tied to the Trump organization. Now, you're breaking news on The Real Story today. You say you're going to sue them because you have a signed contract.
Of course I have a signed contract. 5 years, they have to pay me almost $15 million. I have a signed contract. They can't do this. They called me up today and apologized. They didn't even know what to say. They called up and apologized. They want me to stop telling the facts, whether it's the border facts or the trade facts, which are just as bad. Because in trade, what Mexico, between the car plants that they're taking away from us and all of the trade, and people understand. The reason I'm doing well in the polls is because people understand if I was running things, we will make good deals. We're not going to make Sergeant Bergdahl deals where we get Bergdahl and they get 5 killers that they've wanted for years. We're going to make real deals in this country again. We're losing a fortune. We owe $19 trillion. We can't afford to do this anymore. They're sending plenty of bad, and I'm just saying they're pouring through the border. All you have to do, you don't have to ask Donald Trump. Ask the border guards who's coming in. Believe me, you won't be very happy when you find out. And by the way, that's common sense.
Okay. Well,
Gretchen, it's common sense. When you look at what's going on, it's common sense that who is coming. Look at the crime that's taking place along the border, Gretchen.
Okay.
It's a disaster.
I think what they took offense to was that it sounded as if you were calling all Mexicans rapists and drug dealers and such. And of course, I know you
That's
probably
ridiculous.
didn't intend that.
Of course I wouldn't do
Okay. All right. So we're going to have to see how this plays out in the courts because the pageant's coming up July 12th. You may not be on Univision, or you may, but you have said you will sue them now. Okay. Things are getting heat. You know, you're just stirring up a lot of heat, Donald, because now singer-songwriter Neil Young complaining that you used his song Rockin' the Free World during your presidential announcement when you came down that escalator. You called him a hypocrite on Twitter after Young asked you to back one of his projects. So what's the real story on Neil Young? What happened?
It's crazy. I hardly know Neil Young. He calls me up. He comes over to my office. He wants me to go in a deal. He wants me to give him $5 million to do some ridiculous deal. I'm very nice. I sort of like his music. It's good. It's fine. I don't even like that song that much. I used it as background music. He called me about 2 weeks ago. He wanted me to go to his concert at Jones Beach. He called me. Then he heard the song, it wasn't really him, I don't think. I think it was his manager. Figured to get some free publicity off Trump. So he hears the song. It was one of 10 songs. It was background music. And we used it. And they said, oh, we don't want that to be used. And that's okay. By the way, I had the legal right to use it. But I wouldn't use it if they don't want to do that. But here's a guy, comes to my office, wants $5 million for this ridiculous project. I didn't say yes, no, or anything. I sort of just forgot about it. Then he calls me and wants me to come to the Jones Beach concert. That was like a week and a half ago. And then all of a sudden he's complaining because I used background music that I had the legal right to use. I mean, I didn't have to ask him. I had the legal right to use. So I figure at least I have to call out Neil Young as being a hypocrite.
Okay. Before I let you go, in the polls that we were doing at least last week before you officially announced, you had the highest negatives. In other words, when people were asked, who would you definitely not vote for, it was Donald Trump. What do you need to do to change that?
Well, I don't have to do much because today a poll came out that said I think I'm 50 points better than I was. People didn't want to do anything positive because nobody thought I was running. And if you notice, you said before I announced. After I announced, those numbers have gone really into very positive territory. So you'll see what happens. Look, I will make America great again. No politician's going to do it. They're all talk. They're no action. They're controlled by lobbyists and donors and, by the way, special interests, just like Univision's controlled by people. They tell me, please don't say bad about Mexican trade. I say, but they're killing the United States. I have to. And then they cancel. That's all that's all about.
Okay.
And they'll have to pay a big price because we'll sue them for a lot of money.
Right. And
but a regular politician would have said, oh, I won't.
And a lot of people are frustrated with the Polititalk on Capitol Hill and in the White House. So you may be a fresh approach. We will have to see as we continue to watch how this unfolds. Donald Trump, thank you so much for your time today on The Real Story. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Gretchen.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.